This month is Pride Month. Oh, was, since I'm uploading this at the very last day, but still. And every year this month, I try to do something Pride-related content. Solely because, one, I try to see games in different perspectives from different people, yada yada yada. And two, well, truth be told, there's so many games I have to play every single month that events like these, like Pride Months and Star Wars and everything, it's a breather for me to try to explore old games that I missed. But this year was different. Truth be told, I didn't really have any Pride content to talk about. Well, I kinda did. The problem is, a lot of those, or all of them, were visual novels. And as much as I would like to talk about visual novels in this channel, I'm trying to make a whole separate video about it. So subscribe if you're very interested in. But for this, I didn't really want to talk about visual novels. And a lot of Pride games turns out to be visual novels. But speaking of subscribing, I actually asked you guys what Pride games I should play that isn't a visual novel. In the end, I decided to play 2 games from your suggestion. And so, let's start off with technically not a Pride game. If you have played the game, you know why I say technically. And if you haven't, yeah, the title kinda gives it away as to why, doesn't it? When it comes to cozy games, people have their preferences. Some are really into farming simulator like Stardew Valley or Sunhaven. Some prefer driving like Truck or Euro Truck Simulator. And some just wanna kill things. Listen, dealing with people can be really annoying. Just ask any customer service callers. For me, it's potion-making games. I just love going around the world, collecting materials and making your own potion and selling them. And yes, while you can do that in farming as well, a bit not with potion but with ingredients, farming for me can be dull. I know there's farming for materials, whether by hunting or farming for potions, but there's a certain charm behind that. Like, you get the materials by your own hand and maybe with the help of your partners, and make something that helps the folks around you in return. It makes me feel cool. It also helps that it's a fantasy land where you can go adventure, slay dragons, ghouls, be powerful, be stronger, slay the dragon, have a grand adventure. The idea sounds so tempting. And yet, at the same time, having your own store, making your own potions and giving it to said adventurers, not gonna lie, that sounds really, really relaxing and fun. A big disclaimer, I haven't beaten the game. Heck, I only have beaten the first boss of the game. But from what I have played, I absolutely love it. There's basically 3 parts of this game you should know: potion making, networking, and selling. Potion making is pretty much having the right ingredient, balancing out the ratio to make the desired potion. Later in the game, you will get better and better items and therefore better potion quality. Some do have their pros and cons though. For example, some have ingredients you don't want, or some can give you better quality, like good taste or good smell, but the opposite is also true. And that will affect the sale of your said potion by 5%, both buffs and debuffs. Which doesn't sound like a lot, but trust me, every coin counts in this game. Speaking of it, selling. You are a shopkeeper as well, so your job is to sell potion. So your job is also to make the potion sound really, really tempting. Slay your words, make them think it's more than what the base price is. But be careful, the customers are impatient. So you have limited turns and cards you can use per customer. Using cards will help you block out stress, draw more cards, buff, debuffs, and of course, sway the selling price in your favor. The more customers' heart goes up, the higher you can sell it. Just sell it before the customer's impatience goes zero, or else they will just walk away without buying the said person. And lastly, networking. This is where you basically buy ingredients, ask adventurers to scout certain ones, or even ask an individuals to fight the monster and ration the goods, providing them commissions and potions for the task. There are plenty more that I didn't even think it would be implemented, like advertising a certain potion via social media. Yes, this is a thing. Or even looting treasures to get random ingredients, some better, some worse. And of course, relationship building. You can only date one character per game, but you can still max out other characters' heart. They would just be considered best friends. But I'll be honest, I didn't see any characters I want to date with. I mean, sure, their personalities are great and all, but none of them really clicks with me. I'm putting a ring on her. Funny enough, I didn't pick Mint because of the whole pride thing. I just genuinely would date that kind of personality IRL. Does that make Mint my waifu? But all in all, this game is fun. I really like all the 3 modes. Potion making, you need to provide the perfect ratio to get the best quality. Or sacrifice that to see if you can go even beyond. Thinking how you sell your goods with the cards you got. Making the decks you help you while making sure you don't burden yourself with dead hands. And finding out what to get, who to talk, and what your next step should be. I do have a major complaint about this game, and that would be going from one place to another is, well, slow. Going around places to places can be a bit exhausting because you have to click, see the transition, and then do your stuff. And these few seconds of transitions stacks even when you consider one day. And the sad part is, UI and everything around it is fast. Yes, it can be better, but it is also good enough. It's just the transition that makes the game slow down. And the selling point of the game. Why I do love the card system, I genuinely believe we need more cards in our starting turn. Look, I get it, you need to think what you need to do with limited time and resources, but having 3 cards as you start your every turn in a 20 card deck with only a turn or 2 per customer? Which I'll lead to the final point, networking. I don't really have a problem with it other than the whole transition from A to B. But there is this one thing that is... And unfortunately, that would be the whole point of this video. Relationship building. Relationship building is just that. You hang out with desired characters, maybe gift them stuff to build up their trust. This trust can help you figure out who they are, better cards in the future, coupons to make your investing via networking cheaper, and finally, friendship and or lover. Here's the thing. I did my research just to figure out what we get out of this whole relationship, and from what I can figure out, you basically just get an ending that says, hey, you are now lovers. And if you want a minor spoiler, you basically only get a kiss scene. I understand dating isn't the big thing in this game, but I wish you get a bit more than that. Like, you guys live together, they help you with stuff, maybe gift every now and then. But to end it with just as, congratulations, you did it! it just feels meh. With that said, I recommend Potionomics. Yes, it has its flaws, but it's such an amazing game. I love it. It's so fun. If you like making potion, or if you want a relaxing game that isn't farming, and if you want something fantasy spice into it, try this game. Around August, I believe they said that they're adding voice acting and endless mode for this game, which I'm really looking forward to it. It's fun, it's amazing. Potionomics is such a good fantasy game. But what if you don't want a fantasy? What if you want reality into it? Something that you could actually relate to in this world? Well, let's talk about our next game, shall we? This one is an interesting one, as it is an house-exploring investigating mystery game. Basically, you came back from one country to USA to visit your family, but no one is at home. So, with a house by yourself, you need to figure out what happened, where is everyone, and what the future holds. Spoiler alert, it has to do something with LGBTQ plus thing. With that said, even if the story is what I expected to go per se, it is very interesting to see things that I didn't expect. How the story unfolds and how each story has not one, but multi-layer when it comes to their own stress, their own love, and their own trials and tribulations. Yes, pride is the main drive here, but there's other things that's also on play. The stress, the joy, the obsession, the success, the lack of it. This is set in around 1995. But the things they talk about, yeah, it's pretty realistic today as well. Except the housing. We'll never get the size of this house ever. This isn't an American thing. Buying a house anywhere is just near impossible nowadays. With that said, there's not really much to critic about this one. The biggest one I can think of is you pretty much get lost where to go next. Sometimes I spent a while before watching a YouTube or walkthrough because I just walked aimlessly for like 10-20 minutes. And this is just a nitpick, but I don't really like the cassette music. It's a taste that I can see the people can get into. Not for me. All that said, the problem with these kind of games is that it's very hard to go more into details without spoiling the game. So users have to take my word for this. Some topics presented can be relatable, for better or for worse. So do be prepared if you want to dive into this one. Gone Home is definitely a pride game, more so than Potionomics. But you can't go wrong with either of them, or both really. If you want a fantasy game where you make potions and network and everything, and there's a side bit of pride, even if you don't need to, you can just go for a man or whatever. Yeah, Potionomics is a great game. But if you want something that's not fantasy, but more reality, something that is relatable here, and for better or worse, could have a deep meaning and deep relatable core, Gone Home is definitely the game with the whole mystery and solving what happened and whatnot. I genuinely recommend these two. I had fun with both of them. Now, this is the part where I would make a whole outro skit and be like, oh no, but honestly, I have nothing. So, like, comment, and subscribe. And happy Pride Month.